Hello, hello. This is Christina Barton. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about a little bit more of this media shilling for Biden, and also continuously still I see so much opposition to things like Sound of Freedom. I've spent the past week going down a pretty dark rabbit hole of different interviews, not just with Ballard, but there's another interview I want to recommend to you guys if you have the stomach to watch it. But it's amazing, the pushback that not only from the media, but the silence from other folks as well. Like I just saw some people on like TikTok pushing back on other movie reviewers for not talking about it. And not every person sees every kind of film, but there's they mentioned that they only saw like maybe 2-3 people who are big on film who mentioned it. The first person I saw review it was This Is Savvy, who really liked it. And I don't know how she really came across. She just said it just kind of popped up on her radar, and then she talked about how good of a movie it was. And then we had already planned to see it already. So we went to go see it on 4th of July, and you guys know that I really, really enjoyed the film. It was a really good film. And um but it it's really disheartening how much animosity people have toward this project, because I feel that it is important. And I think people don't want us to have this conversation. So I think that means that we need to have it more. And we'll continue to do that. Also, so there's some other topics we're going to get to today, but before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different videos, different articles. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. It costs a stream, run my website, all that good stuff. So if you can support, I ask that you do in that way, whether it's gives $10, $20, etc. Whatever you can do, I appreciate. You can do super chats if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, you guys can do stars. So thank you to those of you who do that. Also, it's Prime Day. I know some of you probably like, ugh, Amazon and evil billionaires and stuff. Well, for those of you who do shop Amazon, all you guys know that my books and stuff are on Amazon. Is there a sale? Not really. Just but if you're on Amazon, go ahead and check out some of my stuff that I've written. All my books are available on Amazon. All of them are pretty much exclusive to Amazon, except for, of course, God Is Blatantly Against Abortion. That one is available on Barnes and Noble. I do plan to still go wide with that, so you guys will be able to pick that up in other places. I just haven't gone through that entire process yet, but all my other novels are like in KDP, Kindle Select program. So if you're subscribed to it, my Slay Your Fear book isn't available in that option. You have to actually buy that if you want to read it. But the Kindle Select program is, if you are subscribed to it, you can read just you can like rent the book, and as long as you read the book and you read through the pages, those people will get paid. The reason why I didn't include Slay Your Fear in that is because it's a shorter book, and it would not have been financially feasible to have it be that way. The other books are long enough that if you read through them, the royalty on that is pretty much going to be similar to the royalty that I have like in the price that I have for the Kindle one. So don't feel bad if you're reading those books that I have that are available for that option. I promise I will still get paid. So if you have that, go ahead and get it. Otherwise, you guys can get them on Kindle, and you guys can also get them in paperback as well. And this is one of my photos with So my books, that's with me with 15 of them. I've written more than 30 books into our middle grade chapter books. I got another one that's kind of for like younger teens, trending into young adult, and the most other ones are like young and new adult. So please check out my books. Thank you guys who have followed me like on Amazon, and those who've gone to go look at my website and sign up for updates and other things like that. I very much appreciate it. Very passionate about writing. I love to write, and but not just like the political regard, but I love to write just whatever's on my mind, whatever's, in my imagination. You guys know that I'm a Christian, so I pretty much have a big imagination as far as just I guess believing in the supernatural and possible and stuff. But my parents are big Trekkies, and my dad wanted to learn how to read because his dad brought home a comic book, so he started reading comic books. And uh my siblings, they went on a mission trip, and they were driving to Calgary in Canada, and it was took several days to get there. So he just was like, okay, if you're in the front seat, you're praying, and the back seat, you guys, here's all these comic books, you guys can read that. So they were reading comic books, and that's where their love of it came through. And I eventually just kind of jumped on the train, something that they were doing, and so I jumped on. And then we actually started a YouTube channel called The Gorgeous Geeks back in the day, me and my two older sisters. And so when I first started like doing interviews and other things like that, it was just like strictly pop culture. And that's where I got my knack for it. So all of that is hits close to home. Though I'm so saddened that I don't have the love for it like I used to, because basically these ungrateful people have come in, got hired by these companies, and took these beloved characters and have hollowed them out, and basically are wearing their skin, and they're just not the same anymore. So I really don't have a love for like Marvel and DC like I did back in the day. So I just I'm trying to make a parallel economy, create my own things, and hopefully people will like what I make. I like what I make. Hopefully other people will enjoy it. And thank you to those who have enjoyed it and left good reviews. So um thank you to the guys in the chat. Thank you to those who are watching it, back later. So anyway, if you would like to follow my stuff, you guys can go check me out. If you go to blackteennews.com, there's a banner at the top on the merchandise page with some of my books on it. It will take you to my book website. Other than that, the quicker way, I guess, is just to tell you what it is. And it is ninjadustpublishing.com. And here's the link right there. So that's where you can find all the information about my 17 books that I have out that are published. 2 are nonfiction. One, of course, is my abortion book. The other is a faith book, and the rest are not our fiction books, from like action adventure, historical fantasy, contemporary romance, paranormal romance, just all kinds of different stuff. I just I brought up the comic books to just say I just have a vast imagination, and I just kind of run with it. Whatever I'm interested in, that's what I write about. So thank you guys for listening to my spiel. So I do have um, a little funny. I thought this was humorous, at least before we jump into the first story I want to really jump into, I think, is a Miss Universe thing. But um, the White House apparently we're saying new President Biden is not attending tonight's dinner with NATO leaders. Asked why he's skipping it, a U.S. official said the president has had 4 full days of official business, and is preparing for a big speech tomorrow, in addition to another day at the summit. So, um, people really thought that was interesting, because, which this user pointed out that this was literally Biden just 3 days ago. Now, I'm not saying that he didn't have to do important things in between the laying about at the beach. Um, but I think this is also funny. One, because there was there's this big TikToker on TikTok, and he's on Twitter and other places too. But he was trashing Donald Trump because he didn't know what a blizzard was. If you follow me, like if you watch some of my shorts or you saw that I made a post and stuff about it, you may know a little bit about this. But name is Harry Sisson, and so he's people are like, on one hand, people are kind of trying to be like, look at Trump. He's not like the common man. He doesn't know what a blizzard is. And they're like, look at Joe Biden. He can just go to the beach and hang out and like a normal person. And he's so normal. It, people go to the beach. That's true. And hang out and whatever, but we know, like, he's hanging out the beach. So to kind of be like, oh, he had so many days and that's why he can't attend a dinner um with NATO allies and stuff. He is probably tuckered out. He's an old man. He's a very old man. And even people who voted for him acknowledge that he's you know, running out of steam. That did you guys see that video of Biden? He's walking to and he greets the, you know, king and the king of England and stuff, and the and and it kind of looks like he's like using him to stabilize himself a little bit, you know. Getting old is not fun. Getting older, it can be fun when you're not kind of like over the bend, I guess. But I can say it's kind of hard to watch people get older, especially people that you love and that you care for, and seeing that they're kind of not where they used to be. So it's not fun watching um Biden go about his day and knowing that he's quite not all there. I'm not saying that he's like full dementia like people make it seem or try to claim. I think he's very much, able to make a lot of his own decisions and stuff, though terrible they may be. But he has his cards with people's faces on them and the names and who he's gonna call, and he lets people know that I'm not allowed to call on this person, I'm not allowed to call on that person. He's been falling quite a bit. His balance isn't quite what it used to be. And when you see an older person fall, it's like, you know, um, you don't know if a hip is gone or something like that. It's just he's up there. Like I saw Trump had an interview, I think with Sean Hannity. And Sean Hannity asked well, they had a conversation. I guess Trump told Sean Hannity stop making fun of Biden when like he's in different situations like this. Or about his, mental capacity and other stuff like that. And people in the comments, because I saw this video on TikTok, were like, "Oh yeah, Trump's such a good guy," and I just wanted to stitch it. I probably will stitch it now that I thought about it again, but I'm like, he probably doesn't want to attack him like that because he's also old. And it's I mean, I think people, don't feel that he's a very good guy, so that, Shadafornia, make fun of him and stuff, whatever. But it's a reality that everyone has to, if you're lucky, that you'll have to face. I think people want to live long and full lives. Um, but once you hit that, decline, or as I said, watching someone go through a decline or something, that's not fun. So yeah, I don't doubt that he was kind of too tuckered out. Um, but again, they were kind of showing this contrast of he's so normal, he's at a beach, versus Trump doesn't know what a blizzard is. And I thought that was such a dumb video. Harry Sisson said it was the most embarrassing video that he's seen of Trump. Now, as someone who voted for Trump twice, I can definitely point to more embarrassing videos than him not knowing what a blizzard is. Um, and I don't know when it was the first time I went to Dairy Queen. It's not as a little kid, I don't think. There was always an ice cream place that was, right across from our church growing up, that we would go to, and it was called Frosty Treat. And They didn't have blizzards. Blizzards is a Dairy Queen thing. They had Arctic swirls. And if you have an ice cream place, they have some kind of equivalent of a blizzard, but it's just, some soft serves, swirled stuff with maybe some other candy bits or brownies or cheesecake or whatever inside. That's, what it is. Um, you know, um, like a McFlurry or something. So people not knowing what a blizzard is doesn't make you part of the common man, but it doesn't exclude you from being a common man because you don't know what a blizzard is. But what was so interesting or funny about it was when Dairy Queen was always kind of like upper price. I know there's like more expensive ice cream you can get, like if you go get Froyo or other stuff like that. But my parents had 7 kids, and everybody going to Frosty Treat versus everyone going to Dairy Queen. There's a, I don't know, a big difference. And then there's a lot more than there used to be, at least around here. And there's some places people they don't have any. I don't know. Some people said that they thought it was more of a southern thing. I don't know where they kind of started popping up and originating, but um when I moved out to a rural area and they got a Dairy Queen over there, it became a hot spot. Because places were just kind of now like popping up, in that area, but they had to build those places. But as a kid, like we had our Frosty Treat on Sunday, um, after church, and we if the ice cream truck came, we would get 35-cent ice cream, like popsicles and stuff. Not the fancy stuff that you buy for like $1 or something. If you had your own dollar, you could buy like a Superman popsicle or Batman popsicle or something like that with your own money. You gotta, if you're using mom's money, you were getting yourself a lemon and lime or a cherry, uh, cherry something, and a strawberry banana maybe. And there was bubble gum, and we'd all get our own individual like popsicles, and maybe there'd be some like extra, like an extra for everybody, maybe. But my mom would be like, okay, and buy this like whole box for me. And then there'd just be like a box of her particular popsicles. So I'm really surprised no one said, you guys used to buy 35-cent popsicles. Back in the day we did. So yeah, the silly things that I don't know, these folks tried to exclude politicians or who you're going to vote for. It's so silly. It's just like social media clickbait stuff. But saying it's the most embarrassing thing was just wacky to me. But anyway, let's move on to an actual story. Um, so Miss Netherlands is apparently going to be running to try to be Miss Universe. And Miss Netherlands has something going on in the nether regions. As in it's a dude. So this is something that's been allowed for a while, so it's not really surprising so much. And the has it been a year already? We talked about the I don't think it's been a year with the owner of Miss Universe. She's like, who is a trans person? She's like Transwoman. And and I don't think it's been a year, but if they were talking about how, oh, a woman owns Miss Universe, that's so great, that's so awesome. And it's like, but it's still a dude. So if men saying they're women and accomplishing things is all that it can still be like breaking the glass ceiling and stuff, why does it matter when women do anything at all? If a man could just be like, I did it and I'm also a woman, you know if Donald Trump was like, I am a woman, I've always been a woman, does that mean that we've already had a female president? And if Kamala or somebody else wants to run, and they can't break that glass ceiling because someone else already broke it because they say that they're a woman and just can retroactively alter history. What does it matter if women make any sort of special accomplishments if a man can do the same thing and still be regarded as a woman? Shouldn't they just be like accomplishments as human beings and just get rid of glass ceilings? Either it matters when you're a man or a woman or it doesn't. But if a man can become a woman, then what does it matter when women do anything? What does it matter when women do anything? Um, so I mean, there's a lot of competition in these sorts of things. But politics plays a huge portion into these things. So we'll see how this goes. But this is on CNN Style. Miss Netherlands contestant makes history as first trans woman to win the pageant. So yes, there you go. Miss Nether region. Ricky Collet became the first openly trans pageant contestant to win the title of Miss Netherlands on Saturday and will go on to represent the country in Miss Universe later this year. I did it, Collet wrote in joyous Instagram post after the win at AFAS Theater in Leusden. I made my community proud and showed it can be done. They added in Dutch with an emoji in the light blue, light pink, and white striped trans flag. Throughout the competition, which narrowed down hundreds of entrants to 10 finalists in April, Goulet has used the platform to promote a more inclusive vision of the pageant world and to encourage others to feel inspired. Miss Universe asked us to describe ourselves in one word, Goulet shared in a video posted to their Instagram page last month. The word I'm choosing is victory because as a little boy, I conquered all the things that came through my path and look at me now, standing here as a strong, empowering, and confident trans woman. um, this is funny to me. Obviously because I'm laughing, but the as a little boy, I conquered all the things in my past, and women too. You conquered the women, didn't you? And you know the song, anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better. And then the dude's like, no, you can't. So can dudes are dudes better ladies? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Never forget that we can do this together. You're not alone on this planet. Never stop dreaming of being your ultimate and confident you. You wrote in the accompanying caption, never let someone tell you what's good for you because the only thing that matters is that you become the best version of yourself. So, big hands. Goulet, who is 22 years old and from Breda, was crowned on stage by last year's winner, Ona Moody. They were represented by the sash by reigning Miss US, Arbani Gabriel. If Goulet wins Miss Universe, he'll be the woman to wear its tiara. The pageant has allowed trans participants since 2012 and 2018. Angela Ponce from Spain became the pageant's first out contestant, but did not advance to the finals. Next month, activist Daniela Oro Gonzalez will also look to make history as the first out trans woman to win Miss Universe Puerto Rico and will advance to Miss Universe as well if crowned this year. 90 women from around the world will compete in the 2023 pageant, according to its website. So, I mean, I didn't watch the pageants. I don't know how deserved it was or wasn't in the realm of like the walking and the answers given and other things like that. But I do know that a lot of these things are wildly political and I guess I wouldn't be surprised if you know a trans woman ended up taking the whole entire shebang. Um but I wonder how people actually feel about it. Like if you vocalized it and said it out loud, I would imagine that probably would not be good for you. In the competition sphere and social media and other stuff like that. May perhaps now people could feel a little more open to talk about their honest feelings. I don't feel like I feel like there's a the tide is shifted a bit compared to like last year. There's more people willing to speak up, and of course, I think there was a big damper on Pride year this year. I mean, people still went out, did Pride stuff, but with Budweiser and people souring on Dylan Mulvaney, who's still really popular. But you know, I don't know if you guys heard that. It's raining. There's a big thunder. If everything goes dark, you know what's happening. We're having a storm around here, and I don't have any kind of backup. So if it goes out, it goes out. But yeah, I imagine imagine you're a little girl and you wanted to win a beauty competition your whole entire life, and there are people who want to do this their whole entire life. They have different coaches, and they do local contestant pageants and stuff when they're young. They do the Miss Teen stuff, and they or even stuff before, and they learn how to walk. And my older sister competed in one of these competitions, and she was walking more like a fashion icon kind of than the standard kind of way that you're supposed to walk. And the girls were like, "Oh, we love your walk. We love your walk." And they, I'm assuming, knew that every time she walked on stage, she was losing points, which we didn't understand. We're just like, how the heck did she lose to all these girls? It's just a different world we didn't understand. Um, but there are people who are invested in this their whole life, and they want this. And or there's people who want it really bad, or and can't afford it so much, and they have to find sponsors. Like we found sponsors and stuff for my sister. But I mean, think about those long shots who get some sponsorships here, sponsorships there, and are able to do it, and their mom saved up all the money for the dress and to do the hair, and they end up on stage, and then the dude comes in, and all of a sudden they're crowned miss whatever. And you're like, you you shouldn't even be here. You shouldn't even be here. So but they've allowed it since 2012. It's inevitable that I think they'll get to this point where they'll probably crown one. So especially when you got like multiples joining the competition. So I I don't like stuff like this. I don't like stuff like this, but I don't anticipate in the world of beauty it changing anytime soon. Like me and my sister were talking about like different boycotts that were going on, and people were upset, for example, when Dylan Mulvaney had the thing with Ulta, the podcast with Ulta, and he talked about wanting to be a mom and all that stuff, and they're like, what the heck is this? And some people said that they weren't going to shop at Ulta anymore. And I'm not saying that people didn't. And I mean, Dylan even acknowledged that people were talking about boycotting and were boycotting. Definitely wasn't successful like the Bud Light situation. Um, but the beauty world and makeup and all that stuff has been, I'll just say inclusive for a long time. So a place where everyone gathers to buy makeup. I don't think there was an organic enough kind of movement to change the tide there. Bud Light was just crazy. I mean, that was basically them choosing to sacrifice their audience to the inclusion gods, and it just totally blowing up in their face, and they're still trying to find their way back from that, and it's it just ain't happening. It was a huge mistake. Um on their part that just really just blew up in their faces. But I, I in sports I can foresee it, people pushing back harder. Um but I don't think beauty, I don't think so. Not for a while. It would take a lot of you know moms, getting upset at their kids like losing different opportunities. Um but an issue though, like if you look at people like Dylan Mulvaney and all those folks, a lot of people who support them are women, not, trans women or even non-binary women or other stuff, like just women. Um when I make a video, yes, there are, a lot of trans people actually like the content. Don't like folks like Dylan Mulvaney and stuff because they feel that he makes them look bad. So I definitely have people who follow me who are in the LGBT community who don't like a lot of this mainstream kind of fringe stuff that's on the forefront as if it's mainstream. A lot of people don't like it. But there'll be women like, I'm a cis woman and I'll call myself cis, and you should be okay with being identified as cis, and why can't you just let them live their best life and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm like, because they want to silence me. They want to compel my speech. They want me to go on with life as if my life and my world is their own creation, and you don't just get to do that. And they don't kind of see the bigger picture. They're just like feelings and rainbows and sunshine. I'm like, there there's something higher that we need to aspire to, guys, like preserving truth. I think that's a really big deal. For example, you guys know that person who was at the White House, and I've mentioned this before, but who flashed their baked tits. Well, actually, I don't know if it was actually at the White House. It was the White House was hosting an event, um, and they for Pride or whatever, and got something Rosa. I don't. I can't remember the name, but they're an activist, and there are people showing off there are women showing off their scars where they chopped off their breasts. So this person wanted to show his fake tits. So people thought that was disgusting, that was gross, that was inappropriate. Um and the White House ended up, denouncing that person and said that they couldn't, like, come to the White House and other stuff like that anymore. And so someone else pointed out that that person made a video some time ago, because they have a pretty big account on social media. They're an influencer, about the Covenant shooter who killed some staff and some kids at a school. They're like a um they're female who identified as a male. And um people this particular trans influencer was saying, hey, you have to still respect their pronouns even though they did this thing. And if you're using their death to not respect their pronouns, or what they did to not respect their pronouns, then you're just a transphobe. And I think a situation like that is really telling. Now, there were activists who are trans who were like, nah, we ain't doing that. We are not doing that. We are not advocating for you to have to respect the pronouns of a person who murdered kids. No, you do not have to do that. So I want to put it out there that there absolutely were LGBT people and trans people who were like, no, we don't respect this person. Who cares? But there were trans, influencers, and this person is one of them. And by the way, this video of them talking about this, and they did more than one, came out prior to them being invited, to the White House thing. So by the Biden administration. So keep in mind that they invited this person who stood up for the pronouns of this person who murdered kids. So the Biden administration made a conscious decision to still invite this person. Now, just FYI, when you do get invited to those kind of events, it's not the president going through his list of favorites and being like, invite this person, invite this person, invite this person. I've been to the White House a few times, under the Trump administration. The Trump himself, I got an invite with his name on it. You are cordially invited to the White House for X, etc., blah, 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 blah. Not because he knew who I was and particularly was like, get Christina there. That's not what happened. Somebody who knows somebody, they put you on a list, they check you out, and they do check you out. And then you go. So there's someone within the Biden administration who knew of this person who said, "Yeah, let's bring them here. Get them that invite." They check them out or whatever. And I'm not saying they do a deep dive into like what you did in the 4th grade or something like that, but oh, my power just flicked. um, I might lose you guys. Um, but they do check some stuff about you. So they knew this was out, at least in the atmosphere, and a lot of people stitched it. It's still up. It's not a small viewed video, like an obscurely viewed video. It's been seen a lot. They just weren't in my particular algorithm, so I didn't see this video till recently. Um, but I brought that up to say people will respect your pronouns, or preferred pronouns rather, not because they believe in your ideology. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't people who will buy into it or whatever. I think gut feeling, we all know that men are men and women are women. We can convince ourselves of anything. I guess if you go to a lib school for long enough, they can indoctrinate you to believe just about anything. But we know that men are men and women are women, right? So people will go along with it. Even people who are like adamantly like, no, Dylan's a man and Ellen's a woman. People will add who are, who reject the ideology will still use preferred pronouns because, well, one, they're just trying to be polite, in social settings, and they don't want to hurt your feelings. They're trying to spare your feelings. They don't want to get to a big argument, some kind of big ideological argument. They don't want to do that. Um, so they're just trying to be respectful to you. They don't literally believe what you believe. They don't literally maybe see you as a woman, but they can acknowledge it's how you want to be called. So they will, ever so graciously use those preferred pronouns. Um, so when it comes to someone who killed kids, no, people don't feel like they have to show any sort of respect to that individual because they murdered children. So why would they use your preferred pronouns? The only reason to be upset about them not using preferred pronouns is because you think it's beyond people just being nice to you, being polite to you as some kind of social gracious thing that they're doing. You think that people should literally believe, if you're a man and you identify as a woman, that people are supposed to accept that on some level beyond just being polite to you one v one or something, or being polite to someone else, or being respectful to them when they're not around or whatever. You think that even in death of a murderer, that still holds true, that it's weighted in something rather than like just relativity, that it's like objective, like an objective fact. So no. No, it's not. So that's why I believe, and I strongly urge other people to not respect people's preferred pronouns, because I think it goes beyond being just nice to someone and trying to, soothe people's feelings and other things like that. First of all, I don't think it's kind um to be dishonest with someone if you don't actually see them. I mean, they want you to use a preferred pronoun because they want you to affirm this identity. But if you don't actually think that they're a woman, if you don't actually think they're a man or whatever, I don't think it's kind to go along with that. I don't. You can say, well, why don't you just love? Aren't you a Christian? You're supposed to love. Well, I don't love rejoices in truth. You know, love doesn't rejoice in wrongdoing, and I believe that this is dishonest. So you can disagree with that, but um I think we're doing more harm than good to our world, to our society. Because it did get to a point where if you posted that Rachel Levine, who's our assistant health secretary, is a man, then you get, your account frozen on Twitter, and that's why Elon Musk now runs it. Because that happened to the Babylon Bee, or Jordan Peterson got, frozen or in trouble for, saying something about Ellen Page. And So we're at the point where society, these big social media companies, other people have to hamper down on your free speech, or there's people who are want to enact like hate speech laws in other places and other countries and stuff. um I think we're I think we're in a really bad dark place. And I I think you're not necessarily making it better. And I know people don't think about it that deep, and are just kind of trying to not make drama in a social setting. And I'm and it's not even like, I know some people are like, you're a man, and it's to be kind of to be honest, but a little, still hurtful, a little malicious. It's not even like that. Like, even the bathroom situation is like, it's not even like, I am concerned about like people's privacy and safety and other things like that. But it's also an issue of like, what's a sex segregated space? Like, even if you want to say sex and gender are separate, which they're not, they're like used interchangeably and have been for a very long time. It's this idea that they're separate. Um, okay, well, if they're separate, what does the sex and the gender have to do with one another to the point where you want in on sex segregated spaces? Like, why do you want to play on a women's soccer team or a women's swim team if it's a sex segregated sport? Like, sports are very physical, you know. I think you can make a better argument for the beauty competition or something like that. That has to do with hair and makeup and how you walk and style yourself. And I don't get me wrong. I don't think that men should be in those competitions, but I think that you can make a better case for that than you can with like William Thomas swimming, with the UPenn competition, and being in the locker room with the women and everybody, you know, um, lifting up Thomas. I think that makes a heck of a lot less sense. If it's a sex segregated sport, it doesn't matter how you identify. It doesn't matter how you identify because you're still a male. So if they're separate, why do you want access to these sex segregated spaces? And it's not, and I'm not saying that these people are automatically a weirdo or have malice or some kind of intention there, but people do raise their eyebrow when you want into intimate spaces where you're not supposed to be and you're not supposed to be allowed. People raise an eyebrow to that. So um I don't think we should do the preferred pronoun thing. Now, if you are pretty convincing, nobody knows that you're a man or nobody knows you're a woman, it is what it is. Congrats, I guess. You pulled it off. Um, but then there's another thing. If people get upset, like, oh, you won't use, like, I pass, why won't you use my preferred pronouns? I'm like, well, you made this whole identity of being a trans person. Like, you volunteered the information that you're actually a man. I didn't like do it. I didn't hire a private investigator. You told me online. You told me online. So I can treat you accordingly because you gave me that information. Anyway. Let's move on. I saw this snippet of this interview with Dana Bash talking about the Joe Biden situation. We talked about this the other day, so I'm not gonna when we watched videos from The View, but Dana Bash also had this opinion that it's really gross how Republicans are talking about Joe Biden and his granddaughter that he won't acknowledge, and I find their commentary so gross.
This is a story that is sad and disturbing on so many levels. Yes, it is political for a couple of reasons. Number one, yes, Republicans are using it and are going to take advantage of it in a way that is unfortunate and inappropriate. But the reason they are doing that is because, and able to do that, is because of the brand and the kind of person that we all know and believe Joe Biden to be, because it's who he says he is, and it's somebody who is a family man. That's what we see all of the time.
A family man. This is why the story's so they they present like, have you guys noticed there's been a lot of commentary around this when there's a story and the Democrats do something and it's something not good, the story becomes about how Republicans are reacting to it rather than just reporting on whether or not it's good or bad or whether that it's just happening. It's, oh, Republicans respond to the Hunter Biden laptop probe. Republicans respond to the allegations of Joe Biden, being with Hunter as they try to coerce a Chinese businessman for money and stuff or something. It's always about how they're reacting. The Republicans react to, Democrats grooming children or something. It's always about that reaction because if you're so divided on politics to the point where you're just one side versus that side, red versus blue, you know, and that's just how you're trained and your brain is just like, I have to take sides, red people bad. You read that headline and you're like, well, I guess the Republicans are just bad on this, and I have to just take the opposite side of whatever they're having because that's how I've been conditioned, as opposed to just reporting. you know, um, so yes, Republicans are reacting and have been reacting and talking about the fact that Joe Biden is ignoring that he has a grandchild, and Hunter Biden um slept with someone, made a baby, tried to ignore the fact that he made a baby, tried to run away and not get this paternity test. He fought that for a long time. Eventually had the paternity test. And, oh, by the way, you're the father. And then battled with the amount of child support, claimed that he couldn't pay it or whatever. Getting all this money, using his name to amass money and paying for bills for his dad and his family and all these folks and stuff. And he gets down from like 20,000 to like 5,000, like for his child support and stuff. And but he's gonna leave the little girl some paintings, some worthless paintings. So yeah, we noticed that. We noticed that. And we also notice when Joe Biden and they're all like, "Oh, we're family people," and you consciously make the decision to hang 6 stockings instead of 7 on Christmas. Um, yeah, that's something we noticed. So if you're gonna continuously do it, and it's not like they just complained about it 1 year and that you only did it 1 year. You did it a couple times, at least twice. So um if you're going to continue to do that, like, I'm very curious how many stockings there will be this Christmas on the mantle of the fireplace. But if that's how you're deciding to intentionally display yourself while you're talking about how much of a family person you are, you know, it's kind of an issue. A lot of people, everyone has a family. Not everyone, most people in politics try to brand themselves as some kind of family person because it plays, with the suburban mom, with the whoever, they want you to be relatable, but not just relatable, but they want to feel safe, with you if they entrust your vote to you. So it's a big deal for voters to feel that you're a family person. I mean, if someone goes into politics single, they're like, you know, go go find yourself a girl or something. They would rather push someone as a as a family person. They don't quite, you know, they just trust that person a little bit more. You can be upset about it or whatever, just kind of how it is. Um, so if that's the way that you're displaying yourself and you're pitching yourself and that you're known by, people look at you funny when you're ignoring a grandchild. That's just how it's gonna be. If this is your shining star of why you're so more moral than Trump or other people, which everybody knows that Trump has an interesting background with his family. I mean, he's on his third wife. Um, but I am curious how they're kind of all their relationships. They seem pretty tight though, and seem to all really care about their dad. So, uh, I'm a little interested in and how their dynamics are, because I'm like, you got, there's three different um women he's been with and other different stuff going on. I'm just kind of curious how the dynamics still resulted in kind of what they are. But if Biden is supposed to be this more moral superior character, and he's running to save the soul of America, guys, that is his literal pitch, that he ran to save the soul of America. So if you are the beacon, the savior of America, with your goodness, you didn't point to Christ, you pointed to Joe Biden. He pointed to himself and said, we got to save the soul of America. And the way that we save the soul of America is apparently we slay the orange beast and elect Joe Biden, and the sins of America will be cleansed. Like that. That's the pitch, right? So now you have this old man who won't acknowledge his grandchild and purposely, intentionally does so. Yeah, that's a story. Is it the biggest story in the world? No. Is it the reason why he shouldn't be president again? No. But don't play it like, oh, the Republicans this. Yeah, because we have eyes and we can see. And if someone else was doing it, if the shoe was on the other foot, and Don Jr. had a child out of wedlock and was running trying to not pay child support, and the courts made him take a test, and he ended up being the father, and pleaded down saying he couldn't afford the price that he was paying, and Trump was hanging the stockings of her grandkids and purposely left one out. Don't The people pretending like this would not be a story. We talked yesterday about how the media, CNN, running stories about is Trump afraid of stairs and all kinds of other things. Biden's falling downstairs, and they're like, whatever. But Trump, just cautiously walking down some stairs. They're like, is he afraid of the stairs? Literal headlines from CNN and other places. So if don't pretend like no one else would care if the shoe was on the other foot. I just can't stand the dishonesty. I can't stand the dishonesty. Just outside of politics, I think it's a really crappy thing to do. I it's in the long run, it's probably best to not be associated with these people. Which apparently, Hunter doesn't want his child using his name. Which is pretty gross. Is what it is. Is what it is. And I understand Hunter's problems. A lot of his problems can be just his problems, but he is really intermingled with his dad. But as the patriarch of the family, you can tell your kid to man up. You could do that. So there's that. Anyway, another disturbing thing going on in the media, we've talked about this for several days now, is the reaction to the movie Sound of Freedom, which is a genuinely good movie. People are trying to like scare people away by seeing it, by just saying it's QAnon stuff. There's some really deep, really weird stuff out there in the world. So some of it fake, some of it true. That's disturbing. This movie doesn't go deep into like a large conspiracy. Like the biggest kind of thing that happens is they I don't want to really spoil too much, but there's a scene that Jim Caviezel talks about where he kept seeing people talk to each other in the film, and he like watched people watch it a few times. He's like, what were you guys kept saying during this part? And everybody said at the same time, Epstein Island. So there's some real world situations that we can think about, that we can absolutely squeeze into this film and say, this absolutely happens. I talked about this already, but when I the opening scene of the film, and I don't really feel this big spoiler because it's like literally the beginning of the film, but they take these kids and they think, they don't know that they're about to be like trafficked and stuff, but they're taking photos of them because they think they're just doing like a talent scout has picked them up and stuff. and they're telling them how to pose with their hips and stuff a certain way, or they unbutton their shirt a little bit, and they put lipstick on a little girl, and it immediately got to me because I just immediately thought of these child stars on Disney and other places, and how people like Cole Sprouse talked about how these girls were sexualized, and how they were sexualized. Not as much, I guess, as the girls, but they did them to both of them. And if you listen to some of these teens that went off the deep end at different portions of their life and parts of their life, and really haven't really recovered, I would say, so much, were sexually assaulted within the business. So if people are willing to do these things in front of your face, and there's allegations from other child stars, some of them more wild than others, but doesn't mean that they're untrue. Um, if people are willing to do this in front of your face, what are they doing behind the scenes? What are they doing behind the scenes? So people trying to write the movie off as if it's just conspiratorial nonsense. It's suspicious to me. It's suspicious to me. CNN, they had a producer that, was arrested because they were doing stuff to minors. That's a real life thing that happened. That's a real life thing that happened. And then you had all these other people who were who praise cuties but don't like this movie. And people are calling it a faith-based movie, I think, to scare people off from seeing it too. When people think faith-based movie, I think they think of things like God's Not Dead. It's not like that. It's not like that at all. It's not. It doesn't have some kind of preachy overtones or something, or even undertones or whatever. It's not like that. There is like a tie. You can feel kind of like they're kind of called to do something greater, to kind of work to this purpose to save these children. But you can have concepts of fate or whatever without it being related to the film. I mean, without it being related to religion. Or people are like, oh, well, they say God's children's not for sale. Yeah, and we say God-given rights. That doesn't mean that you have to literally believe in God to have the free speech or right to life. You could just take it for a phrase and go on with it, but it's really not. I wouldn't define, like my sister was talking to our Bible study and stuff, and she's like, I wouldn't really call it a faith-based film. Even though Angel Studios is like helping to put it out there, I still wouldn't really refer it to that way. I think they're referring it that way to kind of turn people off to it, an audience who wouldn't really see it, because there's people out there like, why do all these MAGA people watching? Why are they watching it? Why are all these conservatives promoting it? Why are they talking about it? I don't want to see it because these Trump people like it. Just why is not your side not talking about it? Why is your side not talking about it? Because it's definitely happening. And if you watch the film, I know some of you have watched the film, there's nothing crazy in the film. And there are some crazy things out there that would turn your stomach, that are hard to believe. But they did not go that deep in this film. They did not. So if you watch the film and you're trying to say it's QAnon nonsense, that just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. I watched quite a few interviews with Tim Ballard and Jim Caviezel. And I started watching, I did watch the interview that Jim Caviezel had with Sean Ryan. And so I started watching the interview that Sean Ryan had with Ryan Montgomery. And Ryan Montgomery is a ethical hacktivist. And you're like, what is that? He hacks things not for like for, I guess, for benefit or terrorism or something like that. He's hacking to bust creeps. And he started he has his own like company for like cybersecurity and stuff. But he has hacked different networks in different chats of people who prey on children, and has assisted in different investigations and stuff. But there, when he first like started trying to hack and got some information from a chat room with some really heinous stuff, he went to the media at first, and he said the media was into it and were really excited, and then after they talked to legal, they wouldn't do it. And he's like, okay, well, what about like if you presented it this way, because he could understand them not wanting to show things that were like if they were illegally obtained or something. He's like, but you could still like draw awareness or something. Like we don't want to touch it. And he reached out to other people. They didn't want to touch it. And so Project Veritas is doing some like investigative work and stuff with him. And I think this is where I first kind of heard a little bit about him. And then I saw some snippets of this interview. And it's a dark world. He talks a lot about how you can protect yourself like with cybersecurity stuff. That's some really good information. But the sorts of things that he's reading, if you're watching on YouTube, they blurt out a lot of things, but you get the gist of like if you go to a chat room, you have to like answer to be accepted to these groups, you have to be able to express what you would do to the child. And he has different logs. There's one person, a Democrat who tried to run for Congress, who ran one of these sites, and the sort of vulgar things that he was into and other people were into, and their mentality was just disgusting. I mean, even like things about talking about how you should get with a woman and have a child with them, and then so you can go on to assault that child. Um, it's really, really perverse. And there are thousands of people in these different chat rooms, thousands of people in these chat rooms. Um, so people again trying to pretend like this stuff isn't happening is really crazy. I saw someone who used to work in a prison on different like doing like caseworker stuff. um she said the majority of people like that she was watching over or handling, weren't involved in anything like that, but she saw certain cases where she had to read the reports and see stuff, and it haunted her. And so she was disgusted at people trying to belittle sound of freedom like it's a conspiracy thing that doesn't happen. So I appreciate her speaking up. And my heart goes out to these agents who have to be so close to it to be able to track these people, to have to log that kind of stuff or read about it, or if there's a video have to watch it. Oh. um but by the way, the film doesn't show those things. So if you haven't seen it, I really recommend that you do. If you're in another country, and I know some people watch from UK and other places, they from my understanding, they still don't have like a release date if they plan to release it at all. You gotta just kind of make the pitch or call and try to get more theaters and other stuff. But I've heard conspiracies for people saying that different theaters were people were saying it was sold out, and then they go to the theaters and it's not sold out. Or but it could be because maybe someone else like sold out the bought out the theater, who knows. But there are people saying that like air conditioning and other stuff wasn't on. And I don't know about all that stuff. I am hearing different wild stories. I don't know if there's validity to that stuff or not, but it's worth knowing that this stuff is out there and it's happening, and trying to shut it down. The film really is like Taken. That's what's so crazy about it. It's just a regular, really good film that's well done. Like if Gerard Butler did the same film and it wasn't Jim Caviezel, would there be all these kind of stories? If Gerard Butler played Tim Ballard, would people be flipping out in the way that they're flipping out? Or I imagine if like Gerard Butler and a different director like did it, they would probably, I mean, there was like some faith stuff in it, but it wasn't. Some people like to take all that stuff out. Like Jim Caviezel said, they try to take out the God stuff and Count of Monte Cristo, and he had to fight them for it. He had to advocate. He's like, look, if it's not in there, then I'm not the man for this movie. And so they're like, oh, well, you're one of them, huh? And he's like, what? I'm one of those people who don't want to rewrite the words of Dumas. Like when I heard that in the interview, I just laughed out loud. I'm like, what a good way to zing him. I mean, just showing no respect for the art. They did like change a big thing about the movie, but but the sort of the soul of the movie, like why try to take that out and like put in some I don't know, the universe kind of new age garbage instead, um when you could just there's a lot of people who are religious, and particularly when you're doing something that's like a period sort of piece, people just be respectful to the material. That's why I started talking about comic books earlier. It's one reason why I don't. It's not the same. You have too many people who have so many different agendas and don't actually respect the content that they're handling. Um, but if it was Gerard Butler, going after some people hurting kids, I don't know, maybe they still wouldn't want that movie. But I feel like they'd still treat it a little bit differently, you know. But imagine if it's just Taken, but instead of Liam Neeson, but instead of it being about a father just going on like his kill mission, it's a father who's empathizing for another father and putting himself in those shoes, and so he's going out to rescue those kids and stuff, um but there's just a different drive behind it, you know but if you like Taken, I don't see why you wouldn't like this film, and it's really 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 suspicious and disheartening how the media is reacting to it. And again, trying to phrase that as the right likes it, or the QAnon people like it and stuff. Tim Ballard has denounced QAnon stuff. If you go watch the interview with Jordan Peterson, he breaks down a lot of the criticisms about him, and he talks about Q, and he says a lot of people bring up this stuff to kind of discredit this kind of stuff going around. Oh, one thing I want to mention about this interview with Sean Ryan and Ryan Montgomery, they do mention that these people, these predators, they do talk in code, and cheese pizza stands for child, you know a word that starts with P, and I'm not saying I there are some stories and conversations about pizza back in 2016, if you recall, and I'm like, I'm not saying all those things that people were saying were true, but cheese pizza is a thing. That's a thing. So don't let people dismiss you too easily when you're trying to help people. I don't know. We don't know how deep all this stuff goes and who's protecting who and whatnot. But we know that we live in a world where a lot of people consume um this stuff on particular websites. Um and they may say, well, these are consensual things if they're adults or whatever. There's stuff that finds its way into these other sites, and things that are not consensual, but um these are not good industries. They're very exploitative, and it rewires people's brains. And um a lot of people are exposed to this stuff very very young, and leads them to being an addict, and they want to just get worse and worse and worse content. So to you empowered sex workers, just know that you are helping to contribute to a really big problem. And I don't know if I just ticked someone off there, but um it's perverse work, guys. There's other things that you can do. Not money isn't worth everything. Money isn't worth everything. But if there's people who are so openly doing that kind of stuff, or maybe not so openly, but they are doing those sorts of things, um, I just you can imagine that there's people out there doing worse. Again, there's thousands of people on these different chat rooms. Um, so we have a world that's sick, definitely a nation that is sick. I will keep saying I don't think our promiscuous sort of culture has done the world any sort of favors. um, trying to separate the morality of this stuff has done us no favors. And a lot of our views on sex have been shaped by, Alfred Kinsey, for example, who shaped his opinions on from very perverse people, including someone who was abusing kids, who had a table. It Kinsey had a table in his book of like data he collected from someone who was abusing children. He was like a government worker or something, and was like traveling across the country doing like, I don't know, land surveying or something like that. I think it was a while since I watched this documentary, um, but he would go around abusing different kids, and he would keep track of um what they did as he was abusing them. And Kinsey took this data and he put it in a book. And he took other data that people would send them, and they would put it in with different materials. There's one woman who believes that her father, who abused her, would write stuff down and send it to Kinsey, and she's pretty sure um, that the information gathered on her is in some of his work. Um, but if you try to get stuff from the Kinsey Institute or whatever, like if you're the police, they say we would rather destroy you have this. We'd rather destroy the data than you guys have it, like the government or something. They want to protect the people who send them all this stuff. But our views on like sex education and how sex, not being so polite in society as far as our um, sexual activities and stuff. Those are Our world was reshaped so much by this guy who was, you know, didn't like our ethics, so he wanted to reshape them. So the abuse of children has really set the groundwork for what we do as adults. So I think hopefully we can continue having conversations like these, and really think deeper about how we need to kind of have a revival of the soul, like not in a Joe Biden kind of way. Not a Joe Biden kind of way. Um, but take a long look in the mirror and say, we need to change. Am I, what can I do to make the change? Am I a part of a problem? And you know, and what can we do? What can we do? Anyway, that's the show for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know heavy stuff at the end, but I would recommend again watching that interview with the Sean was the Sean Ryan show. Yes, the Sean Ryan show. And again, his interview with Ryan Montgomery. It has how many views? It has 3.6 million views. And he's kind of low radar, so he didn't have come in with like a big name or something to draw kind of all this attention. But it's a lot of people were like, clinging to it and getting this information, which I think is great. I think Ryan exposing this stuff is really good. Both these Ryans is really admirable. When Jim Caviezel got into some really deep stuff on Sean's show, he's like, I probably like scared people out of seeing the movie. He's like, oh, not this audience. And then he started talking about this interview. He's like, people were watching the heck out of that one. So no, he's like, I don't think you scared our audience. They want to know the truth and hear the truth and save the children. So please go check that interview out if you have the time, and look out some stuff about Alfred Kinsey too. Like if you can take it, if you can stomach it. And do you know what Hollywood did for Kinsey? They made a movie starring Liam Neeson, you know. And they didn't mention all the creepy stuff. The super creepy stuff, they're just like, oh, let's have a fun movie about this sex guy. And I think I was watching the trailer last week, I think it was, and in the comments, in the trailer, they made it seem like there was a big scene or something with homosexuality, and the government being upset or something, and then wanted to censoring something, and people in the comments were like, out of all the controversial things they could have addressed in this film, that's what the climax or the big issue that they have to overcome or whatever. Like there's so many other like things to call out and make a big fuss about, but making him some kind of like hero um when he's done so much damage is so Hollywood. Is so Hollywood. Um but Sound of Freedom, that's a bad movie. You shouldn't go see that, but this same Hollywood that made Kinsey. Okay. Okay. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me. Please go to blackteennews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. Please check out different merch that we have at the store as well, such as the we got the black tea mug, got the Roe KC aborted stuff. We got this pro-choice men are sus. I thought about this today. Sus stands for suspect because there was someone in my comments who said that a fetus isn't a human being, and a human being is just like a homo sapien, guys. um you know, a separate distinct individual, um you know, and you could say, well, they're in the mother, they're still not their mother. That's separate DNA, that's a different organism. So yes, a fetus is a human being. And I was like, okay, well, my sister's pregnant right now. What species is her baby? And they're like, oh, it's human. Well, you think there's some kind of gotcha? I'm like, I'm just proving that your other comment was ridiculous. And then they're like, well, I'm not getting in the mud with hypotheticals with you. I'm just like, it wasn't hypothetical. And I clicked on the profile, and it's a dude, like if I'm stereotyping, well, you guys can't see the picture, but I'm just gonna say typical kind. I wasn't surprised. Typical kind of dude who simps for this position, I would say, in the illogical way that he did it. So, um, I don't have a lot of love for. Well, I have a lot of love in the Jesus Christ kind of way for everyone, but I don't like pro-choice men much. I don't like the pro-choice position, but man, a lot of pro-choice men say the darndest things, including violence. So anyway, that's one of the reasons why I made that shirt. So you guys can check it out, blackteennews.com, and other kind of content as well. I have my books that you guys can check out on Amazon, other places. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation at blackteennews.com/donate. God bless you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.